Live is getting started. 1, 2, 3.
Good evening on behalf of Hyderabad Morning. I welcome you to today's LSCB meeting on the topic Social Research on Entrepreneurship Readiness Program. I welcome our MC members, advisors, corporate members, HMA members, staff persons, and all participants who are on this platform and also who are viewing us live.
Geeta, you're not clear.
Yeah, voice is not clear.
I welcome our convener, Mr. Rajendra Krishna Prasad Peddi, our secretary, Dr. Ravi Kumar Jain, our vice president, Mr. Ramchandra. I welcome our speaker for today, Mr. Shailendra Goswami, and I welcome our president, Ms. Kavita Rajesh, who I request to take this meeting forward.
Thank you, Geeta, and a very good evening to all, and welcome Shailendra Goswami ji, and good to see you back again, sir. It's inspiring to entrepreneurs to hear from your stories, and I'm sure we'll all have a good take home today. And the theme of the management HMA the 21-22 is Management Resilience, Impact, Innovation and Globalization. And it is a curtain raiser on Entrepreneurship Readiness Program. And we have the Don in the industry, so himself will share the experiences to talk about Hyderabad Management Association. It's a 57-year-old organization, which started with few dedicated people in the city of Hyderabad and Secunderabad, felt the need for developing managerial skills among executives. HMA provides a plethora of activities, like we do the student development programs, and we do the management development programs, evening lecture meetings, training programs, panel discussions, seminars, conventions, quiz program management and faculty student development programs. And this year we will also be adding a certificate program in partnership with business schools, industry readiness program, a certificate program to bridge the gap between the campus and corporate, which is, we started the third IRP, and the first time we started with only women IRP this year. And our convener Jayavant Garu and Shriyasha Garu and Ramchandra Garu have designed, and Ravi, with the help of Ravi Garu, who is an academician himself, and the best what students can have for their skills, upgrading their skills to get into the corporate world. MSME Entrepreneur Desk has been initiated this year to give consultancy services to MSME unit in collaboration with Krishna Prasad Foundation Trust. And this is where Sir is going to address us on Entrepreneurship Readiness Program. And thank you, Rajendra Prasad Garu, to take this forward and make this happen. And this year, we also started an international desk to link the institutions and corporates to international universities for internships, trade opportunities for international and trade opportunities. Besides tie-ups with different consulates on cultural exchange, technology through speaker meetings also. We are Hyderabad Management Association is associated with All India Management Association, Delhi, and we conduct regular joint programs with IMA also. So this is what we also have the social impact desk. We are addressing the problems, like we have started this initiation this year, and we also have started Kalpana Ramesh has adopted a school, a government school. She's a convener for the desk, and she has successfully done the water harvesting kits for the school and teaching them the water conservation, the young students to conserve water for future tomorrow. So now over to, thank you, sir, for this opportunity, and I request our convener Rajendra Prasad Garu to take this forward. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Kartikaru. Yeah, good evening and a warm welcome to all members to this evening webinar on curtain raiser of Entrepreneurship Readiness Program. I, P.R.K. Prasad, Rajendra Krishna Prasad Peddi, convener of HMA Desk, feeling privileged and honored introducing today's guest speaker, Sri Shailendra Goswami ji. Yeah, Shailendra Goswami ji is currently Chairman and Managing Director of Pushkaraj Group based in India, basically an alumnus colleague of Group Engineering Pune, and I am Bangalore 1977. Excel in marketing, finance, and systems. He has worked in corporate sector for about 15 years, 1978 to 1992, and started his own venture in the year 1992, almost 29 years in the business. He has been on the corporate advisory boards, board of studies, academic councils of many management institutions and engineering college. He is also a member and advisory board, manufacturing companies and IT companies, HR management companies, e-commerce platforms, etc. Oh, great. He had been member of executive committee of MCCIA and Indo-Japanese Business Council and the Steel Auto Components Committee as its chairman. Shailendraji has been instrumental in helping MSMEs in setting up joint ventures in India by collaborating with overseas technology companies. He has been helping MSMEs and business strategies, creating profitable business models, finding partners for technology upgradation, and installing productivity improvement measures. He has been helping the Indian industry in creating export opportunities for products and services through the networks in 18 countries. His contribution to the economic world has been phenomenal, and he has guided and mentored thousands of students so far in career building, understanding the corporate world, expectation of the corporates from young aspirants, effective communication, startups, do's and don'ts, etc. Recently, he established Europe, India, US, India, Asia, India business hubs with bases same in Romania, Vietnam, Atlanta, Barcelona, and Zurich to promote business in the region. He has been a very active moderator and speaker on both the domestic and international platform on a variety of subjects in management, economy, Indian business environment, global businesses, personality development, entrepreneurship, industry-based institute interface, and productivity employment, effective communication, advanced manufacturing, and industry for Make in India, National Trust, Atmanirbhar, etc. Overall, Shailendra Ji has had a rich 45 years of experience in industry and corporate world, contributing in building business strategies, creating values, and future preparedness for the industry, academic, and society at large. Thank you very much, sir. I think we are fortunate enough to have your versatile experience in the industry area to are the right person to give an opening on the Customer program for our Entrepreneur Readiness program. Thank you very much, sir. Welcome you again. This mic is yours, sir. Yeah.
Thank you, Rajendra Prasad, for giving this opportunity. I thank the entire management and the management committee of Hyderabad Management Association for considering me worthy of making this presentation. And it has been certainly a wonderful experience for the past couple of months getting associated with Hyderabad Management Association. I personally feel it is only because of the people who are heading this Hyderabad Management Association, who have been very, very hospitable, who have been very, very courteous, and who have been very, very accessible and interactive. I am really happy to see that you have clocked almost 57 years already, and I don't think you will stop here, and certainly you will have another 50 years of your existence in a much better manner with the kind of people you are associated with. I also thank Hyderabad Management Association for accepting me in the WhatsApp group which has been created by HMA. And I feel I'm among the stalwarts of the industry. I'm among the domain experts of the industry. And I feel humbled when I am participating in this kind of group, exchanging notes. I certainly feel timid in front of the experiences which people have been having in HMA. I must say that you have a fantastic human capital as far as HMA is concerned, and keep up the good work. With this, let me go towards the topic of the day. It's a very, very important topic, and I'm attempting to cover the aspects in preparedness of this topic, that is entrepreneurship. Now, while I say preparedness, it is just going to be a curtain raiser, because I have been discussing with your officials where I have said that entrepreneurship by itself is such a big topic. It can consume so many credit hours in educational system and can become a course by itself. So somebody can become an MBA in entrepreneurship, or somebody can become a graduate in entrepreneurship. So it is that big a subject. And Rajendra Garu has given me 90 minutes to really take over this entire concept, concise it, and not confusing people, not giving an overdose. Nevertheless, I will try to make the best of the time available to me in going across a few important aspects of preparing for entrepreneurship. Now, first and foremost is to understand why entrepreneurship, what is the need. So I would like to go through certain numbers, and then I would like to create a preamble or a proper platform for people to really know why they should be an entrepreneur. It is more than 7 billion people on earth. We know it. A third of it lives in India and China. India alone has 1.3 billion, and more than 50% of the population is young, in the age group of 20 to 25. And who will join the workforce soon? Maybe today, 20 to 25, another year or two, they should be joining the profession in the form of job or in the form of entrepreneurship. Governments are proactive, working towards arranging employment and growth of these people. But one cannot appreciate it as an uphill task. It is a very, very uphill task. You can easily appreciate that. Whatever one does, it would not be easy to find jobs for everyone. To add to it, we have this pandemic and global recession, depression, what we may say, which is adding to further unemployment of existing employed persons. Now, yesterday or maybe last week, we heard that there is going to be a fourth wave in the month of June. So there is no respite from this pandemic, and there is certainly going to be challenges which would be faced by the entrepreneurs or the existing industry faculty or whatever. And we know that the existing scenario and the productive employment for engineers is around 10%. This is very, very important. That statistically, if we really go by all the graduate engineers which are coming out of the colleges, the employability is not more than 10 to 12%. And that of management graduate is not more than 15 to 20%, which is very, very hurting. So we have to look into it. So people engaged in the education sector need to understand this aspect and try to create an ecosystem so that these students become more and more employable. The percentage really goes up. In such a scenario, the best way to achieve livelihood is to become an entrepreneur. Well, everyone says that you fail everywhere, you become something. So it is not that. For becoming an entrepreneur, however small that venture may be, you could be a very, very small entrepreneur. Entrepreneur does not mean that you have to have an industry or things like that. You could be anything that you should be doing it yourself rather than, as I said, seeking a job. Try to be an entrepreneur and try to give a job based on the scale of your entrepreneurship. The new entrepreneurs will be able to create additional jobs, can provide livelihood and provide emotional security. This is very, very important in these days. Meaning you will get money, you will get your livelihood, but then there is something called emotional security, which is very, very important. In these days of last 2-3 years, we have had problems related to mental well-being or emotional aspects of human personality, and which is what is very, very important. When you try to become an entrepreneur, you are ensuring your own emotional security and the emotional security of the employees you hire. Entrepreneurship should be a matter of global priority. That's what I personally feel, or many people like me, they feel, because it is an important aspect. Nobody took it seriously so far. If you really look at it prior to pandemic or maybe 5 years down earlier, not many people were looking for this. Everyone wanted a cozy job. On a first of every month, they wanted their salary and security and things like that. But therefore, nobody took it very, very seriously. But of late, it's changing. It's changing because the government policies are there, because there is a startup concept which is coming up. There is a lot of helping hands which are coming up. We are studying it in colleges and universities also. Because people have started taking it seriously. A lot of funding is provided to this to create a real-time environment. So the incubation cells, the center of excellences, which are being put up in colleges, they provide the real-time experience. Learning it through practicals is better than textbooks, I always say. Therefore, we have seen the growth of incubation centers in various institutes where the basics of the subject are learned. world has become entrepreneurship friendly. Earlier, doing a business, you had a hostile environment, but today it is not. It is totally friendly environment. Funding has become easy, and for viable projects, certainly, meaning every project that is being taken as an entrepreneurial venture cannot be funded. It has to become viable, and therefore this aspect has to be looked at. And given above, meaning what I have explained, one must start thinking about it and implement. And it is not very difficult. It is the mindset, or it is the clarity of thinking that one must have uh, at the student level, or at the graduate level, or at the postgraduate level. The prospective candidates should always think about these things, and they start working towards that. Now, in this presentation, or the curtain raisers, the topics which I'm going to cover are roughly around 10 of them to concise the entire concept. We are talking about the mindset, we are talking about the government procedures, we are talking about the HR practices, we are talking about the finance, which is very, very important. We are talking about the supply chain management. We are also going to touch base on legal aspects of business. We are also talking about marketing and sales, which is the bread earner. We are also talking about the operations where the actual manufacturing takes place. We are also talking about the imports and exports. If somebody is really creating an ecosystem which could be for exports, we would like to learn about it. And then if there are certain innovations which have been done, which cannot be met by the local manufacturers, then the imports are necessary. So we should know what exactly it means to be importing it, what exactly it means to be exporting it. And the last topic which we are trying to cover is the talk of the day, is the digitalization and the ERPs, what most of the people have been discussing about. So let me share my PowerPoint presentation to really make it more. Yeah, I hope it's available to everyone.
Yeah, visible, sir.
Yeah, this is the first slide. I have just briefed you about this.
Yeah.
The first topic of the entire agenda is the entrepreneurship psychology, or the mindset. What I have taken is the definition of entrepreneurship. Essentially, a creative activity. Entrepreneurship is a creative activity because you are doing something which you want, you are doing something which is different, and you are doing something which others haven't done. And it is a novel idea, and you think that idea could sell. So it is a creative activity or an innovative formation. I call entrepreneurship in these two words: a creative activity or an innovative formation. Now, what does entrepreneurship entail? The entrepreneurs create jobs, they provide livelihood. We feel secured to raise families, because ultimately all these objectives are very important when somebody is really taking certain decisions. Provide emotional security, which I said. It also explores one's potential. Today, I feel complacent when I'm sitting in a chair that I'm so-and-so, I'm king, I'm Spider-Man. But then, are you really the one? When you get into that particular chair or that particular hot seat, you realize that you lack so many things, or you have so many things. So it provides that exploration of one's potential. Entrepreneurs are very focused and busy people. I personally feel that. Now, all these things I have written down based on actually my travel towards entrepreneurship. Where, how did I really get into this? So I was very focused and I was very busy, because you cannot afford to lose time. Time is money, as we say, time is an investment that you do towards entrepreneurship. So every day is important, every hour is important. So your schedules, your discipline, everything counts. And therefore, entrepreneurs are required to be very, very focused. You need to define, as I have been mentioning it again and again, clarity of thinking. You need to be focused as to where exactly you would like to go. I may be wanting to go to Hyderabad, and if I take a route towards Mumbai, I will never reach Hyderabad. And this is what I mean by focus. So you need to decide as to what exactly you would like to do. And accordingly, you devise your schedules, and then you see, or you ensure that you are busy. And that is where the entrepreneurs, this thing. High performance entrepreneurship. This is a concept because there are so many entrepreneurs, but there are very few HPEs, high performance entrepreneurs. Is not an accident. It has to be planned. And that is what is required. You cannot be an ordinary entrepreneur once you begin on your learning curve. Maybe a year down this thing, you need to perform. Therefore, you will exist. Otherwise, you will perish. So therefore, a high performance entrepreneurship is a concept which everyone must keep it close to their heart, that I need to perform. And there is nobody who's going to really come and tell you that you are this thing. So you yourself have to really devise a mechanism by which you assess yourself and think that, yes, you have performed, therefore people are looking at you. So today I gathered 10 customers, tomorrow I gather 100, tomorrow, day after I gather 1,000 customers. That could be an index of your success or towards high performance entrepreneurship. Now, acquiring customers and delivering is also another aspect of it. So you need to really get into that as well. Now, entrepreneurship is with great risk of failure. Then why do it? Meaning, it's a simple question. Why get into that? If you say that 9 out of 10 startups fail or 8 out of 10 startups fail, well, why do it? There are a couple of good reasons for that. Many good reasons are. One of them, create great wealth for all. It is not for yourself. It creates the wealth for the society or the ecosystem. The input-output model, when I say it is a left side supplier, right side the customer, in between the organization and the infrastructure and the people that we are. So we are talking about creating wealth for all of us. Drives innovation, because you start with a small idea and then you work it out towards that concept and go deeper and deeper and deeper, and then ultimately achieve that innovation that you are really pitching for. So again, that focus, again, that clarity of thinking as to where exactly I want to go. But for going there, what is that route I'm going to take? I start small and then go and become big. So it drives that innovation part of it, deeply rewarding experience and self-confidence. Let me tell you, at the end of the day, when I come home, I feel that I have contributed so much for myself, to the organization, to the suppliers, to the customers, and as a nation. Where is my contribution? What I have added value as? And that is that rewarding experience that I have it. And then certainly it increases your self-confidence, because ultimately you need to be motivated yourself. The motivation comes from your confidence. And the more you become self-confident, the more motivated you are, the more performing you are, the more better organization that you are, and a better entrepreneur that you are. It creates, it's a very, very creative process and give highest sense of accomplishment. Today, when you were introducing me, I was going through all that you have, although I have written that profile myself, but I never realized that I did so many things. So it's a sort of a sense of accomplishment. When I was wondering, when did I get all this time to do that? So it's a sense of accomplishment which every individual requires it to boost his own self-confidence. So these are a few reasons why you should be having that. Now, profile of an entrepreneur, I would like to get into, is full of self-confidence, as I have been saying it again, very disciplined. You need to do every day the same thing, same time, again and again. So what we say as a military discipline, you do not really get tired, because the day you skip, you are missing the deadlines. Or another, if suppose every day I'm doing 10 things, if I skip a day, the next day, those are going to be 20. You can't meet those deadlines for 20. So every day it gets accumulated, and ultimately you go closer to the failures, or you go towards the non-performance. And certainly becoming an HPE, you need to be a very, very disciplined entrepreneur. You need to be extremely goal-oriented, that at the end of the year, I would like to do this. At the end of the month, I would like to do this. At the end of the day, I would like to do this. So there have to be goals which have got to be given to each entrepreneur, or rather he has to impose it on himself. What we say is the time scale distribution, in the sense that what will I do a day hence, what will I do a month hence, what will I do a quarter hence, what will I do a year hence. And if I have that kind of a roadmap available to me, I keep reviewing that, whether I did achieve the daily or the weekly or the quarterly or the half yearly and the yearly. And then ultimately I'm going towards that HPE concept. Focused and work hard. This is no respite here. You need to be focused and you need to work hard. You can't be working hardly. You have to work hard. And like the saying goes in most of the youngsters today, they say that work hard and party hard. So that party hard part of it is a big question, but work hard is certainly a profile which an entrepreneur must have. They are very flexible and opportunistic. You know, you don't know what kind of environment you are getting into. So you will have to adopt yourself to that particular environment and get yourself accepted in that environment. And that is where the process of business begins. So you need to be flexible, and certainly you need to be opportunistic is not normally a negative word, but here I'm using it as a positive one, in the sense you need to spot the opportunities and really grab those opportunities. To that extent, I'm saying you need to be opportunistic. Opportunistic otherwise is a negative term that you use it for your selfish motive and then get away with that. No, here, I mean, there is an opportunity, and then you need to really spot that opportunity. You need to grab that opportunity and make the best of it. He certainly is an egoless person. I cannot have an ego. Well, the customer will have to come here. Well, the supplier will have to come here, or the people will have to call me sir, or something like that. You know, we have a lot of ego problems in our society, and that is where the entrepreneur has to be different. He certainly cannot afford to have egos. In spite of being in business or having so much of experience of 45 years, today I cannot afford to have that kind of an ego, because then slowly, without your knowledge, people start going away from you. And ultimately, if you have to be a businessman or if you have to be an entrepreneur, you have to be a part of this society, you have to be part of this group, or you have to be part of this ecosystem. If the elements of this ecosystem start leaving you because of your ego or because of your ego trips, then you're left alone. And ultimately, who do you do your business with? And ultimately, the profile of an entrepreneur, that he has to love money. Like my teacher used to always say that you're in business for what? You're in business to make money. That is the first object, but that should not be the only object. I always say that money always follows a good work. A sincere effort always follow a good commercial background. So, but an entrepreneur has to have that passion to earn money or passion to make profit. Now, earning money and making profits are entirely two different concepts. There are a lot of people earn a lot of money, but then there are expenses which they undertake, which really put them into red. So I would say that love money means love profits. So making profits should be the goal of an entrepreneur. I will get into the next slide where I cover up the government authorities and types of companies and registration practices. I'll just quickly run through this because these slides are going to be with you, so that these are all published data which can be made available anywhere if you Google it out. The classification of MSCI for both goods and services organization is done on the basis of the turnover. And is as follows. Micro enterprises up to 5 crores, small enterprises 5 crores to 75 crores, medium enterprises 75 crores to 250 crores. Until recently, the classification of MSCs was done on the basis of investment put in the business. It was calculated as a sum total of the money invested in the plant, machinery, and equipment, which was becoming very, very tedious a process. And there were a lot of anomalies and a lot of forms to be filled in, etc., etc. So the government has really legalized a process which is much more simpler. And therefore, today, this is a welcome change which was very recently announced. MSME registration is completely online. Today, you can go on a website which I have given, udyamregistration.gov.in, and register yourself as MSME. And there are two categories for the new entrepreneurs who are not registered yet as MSME, or those with EM2. EM2 means entrepreneur memorandum, a one-page document which was there earlier. So part 2 of that entrepreneur memorandum, you can go and register there, or for those having registration as UAM. UAM means Udyog Aadhar Memorandum. And for those already having registration as UAM through assisted filing. If you go to that particular form, it is very, very simple and user-friendly. And you can really register yourself, because this is the first and foremost condition. If at all you want to be an entrepreneur, you need to register yourself. Now, I take the functional part of preparedness that one must have. So the first and foremost I have taken is the HR practices and administration, because after an entrepreneur decides to be in the entrepreneurial venture, after he does his registration and things like that, the first and foremost thing is that he needs to decide as to what kind of a HR policy that he should be having, whether he should be having 10 people, whether he should be having 100 people, so on and so forth. So for that purposes, he need to have a clear-cut human resource management concepts place very well. And then HRM is best considered as a range of policies which have strategic significance for any organization. HRM is typically used to facilitate integration, employee engagement, flexibility, and quality of work life, as well as meeting broader business goals like changing organization values, productivity, and delivery mechanisms. Now, HRM has certain roles to play in an organization. And HRM has one first role is HRM policies, developing policies relating to personal management of the firm. Then employment, defining recruitment and selection procedures for staffing needs. Then development, developing strategies for training and development of employees. And performance, developing performance appraisal programs, because ultimately everyone is looking for some kind of appraisal and some kind of increment. So you need to have a performance appraisal system in place. So somebody has to do that. And that is where the HR management does that. And lastly, the compensation part of it, designing a reward system for the employees. Now, there are a whole lot of experts available in our HMA, as I have been seeing, on HR as a function. So I leave it to those experts to take this concept forward. I am just touching the base as far as this curtain raiser is concerned. The next topic, the most important after we get into HR, is the finance. Finance means you need to understand the basic concepts of finance, which is bookkeeping, meaning what are the expenses, incomes, everyday accountancy, where you drop all your double entries and ledgers and things like that. Then naturally, when you are doing bookkeeping and accountancy, you need to have audits, which are firstly, the internal audits are there so that everything is okay by the internal audit. Then we go to the external audit, which are from our chartered accountants. And the external auditor may point out certain figures based on which you could really correct or take course corrections and then work out your path towards creating a balance sheet finally. There is another aspect of finance, which is taxation, which is income tax, professional tax, GST, and so many other taxes, or the compliances that one needs to really look at. Another important aspect as far as finance is concerned is banking, because banks, you cannot operate just like that. You need to have a savings account, you need to have a current account, you need to have the cash credit limits, and you need to have the facilities for letter of credits, you need to have facilities for overdrafts, you need to have relations with your bank. So a finance department necessarily does all these functions with the bankers so that the business gets facilities as far as money is concerned or as far as finance is concerned, because there are certain guidelines by which banks also operate, but then it depends on the relationship with the customer that banks are flexible enough to accommodate on certain exceptional cases. So banking becomes very important part as far as finance is concerned. Compliance documentation. Today for GST, we have been doing that compliance on every 28th of the month. We file the returns and things like that. So compliance is related to government, non-governmental, as well as the company inside compliances will have to be looked at. So you have stocks, you have stores, there are so many of them. So it's a big topic, compliance. So one needs to really spend a lot of time on that. And then lastly, as far as finance is concerned, is balance sheets, profits and loss account. So this is what we are working for. At the end of the day, in February or March, we start preparing for this and we put it up to our final audit. And in the month of October, we file our returns in which we give a profit and loss account and a balance sheet. Depending on the balance sheet or depending on the profit and loss account, we create the kind of a capital that we have created for the organization, based on which we can apply to banks for loans or extension of credit limits or things like that. So this becomes a document which gives you recognition for that particular year of operation. And normally, if we really look at it, any proposal that you're giving for project financing or things like that, people ask for 3 years of balance sheet. So one does not look at a balance sheet in aberration, in the sense that you may do good for the first year, but then the second year has to be somewhere close by, or if not having shown some growth, the third year has to have a marginal growth beyond that. But in a situation like this pandemic or COVID, people have known that balance sheets have been terribly disturbed. They have come down to more or less than 30% or 40% of what you were doing. But banks are also human beings. They are operating there. And they understand the situation, and they have evaluated on a pro rata basis, had the COVID not been there, what would have been the performance, sort of a thing. And that is where the relationship with banks is also important, or the numbers in the balance sheet or profit and loss account is also important. Now, after going through this basic financial aspects of this thing, there are a whole lot of challenges which I personally feel that the MSME faces as far as finance is concerned. And why I am talking of only MSME, because the startups today, we are considering them to be a part of MSME. Otherwise, the large organizations have different challenges. But for MSMEs, what are those challenges? In spite of being an integral part of sustainable development of the country, there exist enormous threats and challenges for survival growth of MSMEs. The challenges are financial challenges, strategic challenges, operational challenges, supply chain management challenges, administrative issues, threats in internationalization, etc., etc. All the above challenges create an obstacle for organization growth and development. Lack of available resources and poor management results in the development of risk and weakens the firm. Weak MSMEs can cripple the whole economy beyond repair. Therefore, it is of utmost importance for the sector to identify these challenges and manage them properly. A highly influential challenge for MSMEs is finance and its availability. This challenge is a major obstacle to the survival of this sector. Let us discuss the major financial problem faced by MSMEs further. The first challenge faced by MSME is the liquidity crunch. Liquidity is the part and parcel of the business, as it is the funds that are required to run the day-to-day operations of any business. The prime source of liquid funds is the sales amount received from the debtors. In case of shortage of funds from sales and bills receivables, short-term financing in terms of cash credit or bank overdraft can be availed. In the case of MSMEs, there is a huge problem with the liquidity crunch. Especially in last 2 years, we have faced this problem because the demands were not there, the orders were not there. We were required to pay salaries, we were required to run plants, etc. In the case of MSMEs, there is a huge problem with the liquidity crunch, and it has worsened in the current COVID-19 situation. Being a supplier to large firms, the majority of MSMEs are dependent on the success of large firms as well as credit payments from these firms. Delays in payments from large firms or stoppages of operation from large firms reduce cash inflow to MSMEs, leading to liquidity issues. MSMEs usually face the problems of bad debt or late repayment from debtors, as they do not comprise suitable recovery mechanism that eventually affect their working capital availability. Anything happening to liquidity or cash flow will affect the working capital. Thereby, you will not be able to produce what you are supposed to produce, and ultimately you will suffer on performance. The current COVID-19 pandemic has hit the industry hard, as lockdown leads to stoppages of operation, resulting in stoppage of cash flow to the firms. This has intensely impacted the availability of liquid funds to the business. Most MSMEs experience unavailability of timely capital and suffer from the either shrinking of the operation of liquefying the enterprise itself. What we have learned that several MSMEs, several startups packed up during COVID, but then our government, Ministry of Finance, was very generous in offering almost 2 or 3 stage packages to these MSMEs, and some of these MSMEs, they survived very well. So liquidity is very, very important, and we always say that anybody who manages his finances well sustains well. And this is where the liquidity problem is going to be looking at you or staring at you every day. You know, I, as a business person, first of all, in the first hour of my day, I look at my cash flow, I look at my working capital requirement, I look at my bank statements, and thereafter I start pushing marketing guys for collection of payments. Or then the last one comes is the supplier, the creditors, where I have to pay my money. So the day goes in planning of this. So when I say discipline, or you have to have a schedule for a day, you need to incorporate these aspects in running an entrepreneur, because you cannot be just coming from your home. You cannot be just coming from your home and directly getting on the shop. There's some disturbance.
I request everybody to please mute. Sorry, sir. Thank you.
No, it's okay. No, it's okay. So my thread was broken. So the schedule of an entrepreneur should be in the sequence, as I said, that I need to understand what is there with me, what I'm supposed to give and what I'm supposed to take, and then go to the working capital requirement and try to go to the bank and meet the daily cash flow, and then meet the weekly cash flow, meet the quarterly cash flow, and try to draw up a plan. And if you keep doing this on a daily basis, as I have been saying, that you need to be disciplined. You have to do the same activity every day on time and in most appropriateness. There is no second chance which is available to you. You miss the bus, you miss the bus. There is no next bus. So you carry that backlog, and then you carry that non-performance with you. The second most important aspect which I have written is the availability of credit. The problem of liquidity can be solved if there is availability of funds through credit, which I said cash credit, and the expansion as well as diversion of the firm also depends upon the credit availability. If I need to plan something, as I said in my earlier comments, I said that if you need to create a balance sheet, it has to be a good one, which could create a good capital, which you can create a possibility of you getting finance for your new project or diversions or expansion or developments and things like that. And this is where what this aspect comes upon. Your credit availability will depend totally on your balance sheet and your profit and loss account. The unavailability of timely and adequate finance is a major constraint in MSME's existence, because today we are not equipped to really make a project report and go to the bank and then work it out. So you have to hire proper people who really create that. When you hire some people, it means cost. Whether that cost can be corroborated into the expense sheet or not, that has to be learned. So it is better that we follow certain disciplines right in the beginning, create finance as a part of your entrepreneurship ecosystem, so that you don't have to run from pillar to post while making a report to the bank or trying to create that additional credit limit with the bank. The lack of adequate timely access to finance is the biggest challenge for MSME sector and has constrained its growth. Because ultimately, if you don't have money, how would you progress? Because there are so many things you have to meet with that finance or the credit which is going to be made available to you. Now, the last point, the challenges for MSMEs is the poor management of finances, which is what I just touched. That there exists a significant relationship between record keeping, proper financial management, and MSME's performance. An owner or a manager with a sound knowledge of finance can take the firm up to a scale of growth. And this is where I was insisting just 2 minutes back, that you need to have in your ecosystem of entrepreneurship a guy who is expert in finance, because this is a very, very important function. The way you give importance to any other function, finance is the most important function, because it can stop your business abruptly. And therefore, you need to focus more on this. For that purpose, you need to have an organization which can help you out. If you are a medium scale, certainly you can create a finance department. But if you're a micro organization, but you can have one person, but at least who would have a sufficient knowledge to coordinate with your chartered accountant, or a person who is going to really create your tax returns or balance sheets or profit and loss account. Financial management covers aspects such as availability of funds, allocation of funds, and evaluation of the financial performance. A person with sound financial knowledge can prepare an attractive proposal issuing the funds to the business. Management of finance is very, very important aspect. There are people I've seen having so much of profits, but they goof up in management of finance. That is where they suffer. So you need to have a proper balance of management of finance within your ecosystem. You cannot be complacent that I'm making so much of profit, so it will run automatically. No, you need to focus on management of finances yourself. An entrepreneur without proper financial knowledge would not be able to make crucial business decisions, and one wrong decision leads to higher cost to the business. This is again and again, I'm saying it, that an owner needs to understand finances very well. He needs to understand his balance sheet very well. He needs to understand his profit and loss accounts very well. I am not saying that he should go into the nitty-gritties of the balance sheet or the profit and loss account, but he should able to evaluate from the balance sheet the health of his own company. If he cannot do it, then he will have to depend on the guidance which is provided by somebody else, and that guidance may not be in sync with what he is capable of doing a business. Because ultimately an entrepreneur thinks entirely in a creative mode. So if he becomes an expert in finance by himself to an extent of really translating that balance sheet into the ratios or into the performance part of it, he will be able to take the right decisions, and which is what is very, very important. And I have been saying that an entrepreneur without proper financial knowledge would not be able to make crucial business decisions, and one wrong decision leads to a higher cost to the business. Improper record keeping may lead to higher operating costs. High operating costs leads to higher cost of manufacturing. That has an adverse effect on the financial performance of MSMEs. I think this is all linked up. So I think with this, we all have adequately understood the importance of finance as a function. Of course, as I said, I have been always saying that entrepreneurship is an ecosystem involving functions, involving personalities, involving society, and involving the input-output model, that is supplier, customers, service providers, and things like that. So one element cannot be important, but then each element can cause trouble. So a human body, I give an example. If your last finger hurts, you cannot work. So you cannot say that this finger is not important for me. You cannot cut it away. This finger has its own job, and you need to understand that. So we always protect ourselves from the hazards, our entire body. We cannot say that my eyes are not important, my ear is not important, or my hairs are not important. Well, for looks, yes, hairs are important, so we keep doing so many things about it. But then, yes, that really creates a personality. So an element in a personality or an element in an organization cannot be treated in isolation as whether it is important or not important. Everything is important in an organization. So we move on to the next topic in the game. And I think I'm clocking a good time. So far, I have come halfway through. I have another time, so I could be able to cover many things. Supply chain and logistics management. So we went through.
Sir, here
Yeah.
I have one question in the finance side.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, an entrepreneur got to know certain fundamentals of the finance. Okay. In the balance sheet and other things you just now mentioned, what is the one key point? Like, if you want to check it out, whether my business is going according to my direction, like my saving, like in a home finance, we have salary, we have a saving, we have investment, we have education, something like that. A housewife or somebody can able to predict it, what is going on. In an industry, can you have a small measurement like this so that it's going right direction?
There is no one solution, Rajendra. I'll tell you, there is no shortcut. You need to understand that balance sheet firstly to the net profit that you make. Yeah. What I look at it, when I look at the balance sheet, is the net profit that I make. Now, net profit gets directly affected by the expenditure that I do. So I try to find out the expenditure. What all is the redundant expenditure that we did? I try to find it out. The third aspect that I find out is the tax part of it. Whether I'm paying right tax, whether I'm paying more tax, whether I'm paying less tax, whether I have used all the means which have been provided by government to really take care of the taxation aspect. For every entrepreneur, these are going to be different aspects one would like to evaluate. So there is no one key or there is no one thumb rule A balance sheet is created after 1 year of performance by chartered accountants spending 2-3 months. So I don't think there is any shortcut by saying that look at only net profit and then you are okay. So I made 1 crore of profit this year. Okay, fine. I will spend that 1 crore. No,
No,
that
no,
1 crore has
not
an
like,
attachment to that. Yeah.
Sir, not like that. Like, yearly balance sheet or yearly profit and loss. Instead of that, they have something like that 1 month planning sheet. So that today, this month, we are achieving this much profit, this much the turnover. So something measurement like thing you paid this much, anything such thing.
No, that
very
is what I
simple.
said, that you will have to devise a business plan or an annual operating plan. We say that annual operating plan for the managing director is the time scale distribution. As I said here, that as a managing director, I worry about the annual operating plan. For a general manager below me, he will be worrying about a monthly program. For a manager below him, he will be worrying about a weekly program, or a manager below him will be worried about a daily program. So a review of these things on a time scale distribution will work out that performance which is required by the organization. Because as a managing director, I cannot go down and look at a daily business schedules. Because if I'm doing that, I always compare it like that the lowest hierarchy that I have it in the organization, maybe it is 500 rupees an hour, and my hour could be 5,000 rupees. So if I start doing a job of a 500 rupees an hour, every hour I'm losing 4,500 rupees.
Yeah. Okay.
And that kind of a calculation has got to be done. And for that purpose, you need to create a hierarchy, and you got to believe in your team that you have created. And everyone must perform that function. That is where monitoring and review really comes into being. And which is what I always say, that you need to have a TSD, time scale distribution of functions, because we feel very comfortable in doing our subordinates' work, because that is where we came from. So we tell him, do this, that, but then you don't realize that you're losing money every hour you spend with the subordinate. Because he is at certain rate per hour and I am at a certain rate per hour. Okay. Sorry, but I would like to take questions a little later because I need to finish what I have prepared.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Supply chain and logistics management. I think this is being done by everyone at home, mostly the ladies who really are excelling in this profession, as to management of materials or supplies, so that everyone is fed at home, or everyone in the industry is fed for production. So the material planning, what all bill of material is there, that material planning has to be done. It has to be classified in A, B, C categories. So A categories, inventory schedules, lead times, etc., etc. So that entire material planning encompasses a very big function by itself. So you need to plan a material. You need to plan a material not in a way that it incurs your inventory carrying cost, or it incurs delays, so that your production is hampered. Because a particular product may be comprising of a bill of material of say 500 items. Now 500 items could be classified in A, B, C, and C items could be stored because they are the low cost ones. D items cannot be stored.
So we lost you, so we are unable to hear you.
No, somebody muted me, so I just unmuted myself. So the material planning plays a very important role depending on the type of material that we have, it ABC analysis, and then lead times, the prices part of it, and the inventory carrying cost. There could be imports which could take a long time. So the lead times are going to be very important. Again, this is a very big topic, needs further deliberations. So as we go along, we will work it out. Purchasing is an important function. Purchase manager need to perform his duties, buying material as per the planning, see to it that it meets all the cost, it meets all the deliveries, it meets all the quality, reliability aspects of it. Then the receiving and warehousing. So as I analyzed it, ABC components. So accordingly, you will have to create a warehouse so that you can plan that material properly. Storekeeping, a storekeeper has to have a log which can be available today digitally. It is available everywhere as to what are the stocks available. Then the inventory control, that aspect which I was talking to you, that we cannot have an inventory which is not going to be used for next 6 months. So it will increase the cost. So everything in purchase revolves around the cost part of it. So we are trying to protect the cost, or we are trying to minimize the cost. So storekeeper will be really giving out that information to all the departments as to what exactly he has. If somebody says that the production is increased, so you have so many things, the storekeeper will inform purchasing, the purchaser will sit with material planning and then plan that additional sort of a thing. So inventory control, as I said, is very important. Value analysis on a time basis, we will have to keep doing it as to what kind of stocks I carry, because most of these stocks, when an organization is there, is a dead investment. So these are normally financed by the bank, or we take it from the cash credit. So this involves that interest on the cash credit that we have it, and the stock non-movement will add up cost on a daily basis. So that value analysis will have to be done, and ABC category accordingly, you will have to really find out the best optimum means of creating that inventory. And the standardization helps reduce inventory. Suppose you are using fasteners, so all the fasteners have to be of a standard variety or standard specs. So that reduces, because at one place you use this M6 fastener, at some place you use M8, and some places you use M10. Why? Depending on the technicalities, if we can standardize on such items, the bill of material, really the BOM, what we say, or the bins, they go reducing, so the planning becomes very easy. And standardization also creates a very important aspect of replacement in place. So one part can be used at many places, and if rejections are there, you don't get your production stopped. And certainly the production control part of it, because purchasers are always controlling that entire production. If they give excess material, the inventory goes up. If they give less material, the production suffers. So these are the aspects of supply chain management. And this is again a big topic. And this is just a curtain raiser, understanding what are the elements of supply chain management. Well, it's not going forward. What do I do? Yeah. Legal business aspects and corporate governance. Now, having formed the organization, we need to really look at the legal aspects, because you cannot be on the wrong side of legislation or on the legal side. We know that MSMEs form the backbone of Indian economy. Towards realizing the government's mission of $5 trillion in 2024, the GDP contribution of the sector needs to go up to 50%. Meaning today, whatever that it is, it has to be going up by another 50%. Virtually, it has to be doubled. This is not an easy task. The path is riddled with obstacles that are organizational and systematic. Each problem requires resources, and MSMEs, by their very nature, are always short of resources. And they are the best deployed solving business problems rather than negotiating with compliances and legalities. These have to be minimized. There are some that can be tackled at the organizational level, and others that require policy interventions. So there are two ways the legal aspects have to be looked at. One, which is managed by at the business level, and the second one, which is requiring the government intervention. I'll just quickly run through this, because this may not be as important at this stage of a startup, but nevertheless, one must hear it out and keep it at the back of their mind. Now, areas business should tackle is the organizational structure. Having a structure for a business is a must for making it successful. Many businesses, either due to lack of knowledge, bureaucratic apprehension, or additional compliance burden, do not get their businesses registered. And however, registration would help by opening up business opportunities from state and central enterprises, easy access to finance or working capital, higher tax rebates, to name a few. So, and structure, a complete structure has got to be defined, which is legal entity And we looked at the registration process that we are trying to work it out. The second aspect is the delayed payments. Every or almost every organization faces the problem of delayed realization of their bills. This leads to excessive financial constraints, which is one of the key reasons for their successive failure. However, such companies should be aware that as per the MSME Act 2006, buyers are liable to clear their invoices within 45 days, lest they are being subjected to heavy penalties. Now, this is very well registered by most of the business houses. And they first of all check whether you are an MSME. And if you are an MSME, they immediately ensure that your payments are made in time. If the buyer fails to make payment of the amount of the supplier, he shall be liable to pay compounded interest with monthly interest to the supplier on the amount from the appointed day or the date agreed on at 3 times the bank rate as notified by the RBI. In case of dispute with regards to any amount due, a reference shall be made to the MSME Facilitation Council constituted by the respective state governments. So MSMEs are very well protected as far as their payments are concerned from the government. And this every MSME or every startup must know that they need to register first to avail of this kind of a legislative benefit which is coming from the government. The tax liability is the third aspect which one has to look at inwardly. The introduction of GST on the one hand has helped in enhancing the ease of business for Indian startups by bringing all state and central level levies, taxes under one roof, but one on the other, it has also increased the already high compliance pressures on MSMEs. As I said, that compliance is a must. And one of the biggest compliances these days is GST. And it has got to be done on a monthly basis on 20th of every month. GST fillings also lead to cash flow issues for startups as they are made to pay taxes on the pending and unrealized invoice bills as well. Many businesses have now started to issue pro forma invoices, thus deferring their GST liability only after their money is realized. Now, there is a complete chain of events which is happening after the government has introduced, because of the liquidity crunch or because of the cash flow problems, people are not paying, whereas your deadlines are approaching. So you will have to, on behalf of your supplier, pay your GST, which may or may not be recovered ultimately. So people have started devising via media, and we Indians are always creative and engineers. So we have our own methods of really creating our own ecosystems and remain within the legalities. Of course, there is no respite, and we cannot be taking the illegal routes for doing businesses because that spoils your character. And I would strongly recommend to remain within an ethical and legal and completely having a good character as far as business is concerned, because mind you, you are being monitored. We feel that it's like a cat drinking a milk with eyes closed, but the entire world is watching. So it is the same way. You may be doing your entrepreneurship venture in some corner of India, but then mind you, with the digital expansion, you are being watched day in and out. And that is how you keep receiving circulars from Ministry of Finance on your tax payment, on your all those aspects of business. Now, there are issues needing government intervention. I'll just quickly run through that. Access to right information. Another major issue is the lack of information regarding the documentation and other requirements for obtaining licenses and registrations. Most of the government portals and websites provide vague and dated information, which is not up to date. Or maybe we are looking at certain things which are not up to date. So we need to get notifications to update ourselves. Like we get it on our laptop that your software requires update. So that kind of a notification should pop out. So you need to be moving around in the right circles to get those notifications. New amendments are rarely notified in the official gazette, which in turn leads to a lot of chaos and confusion. A centralized online system of licensing with the right use of technology can easily help in resolving this issue. And this is what is the crux of the thing. Simplifying patents registration laws. You know, we are very shy of registering ourselves on patents. India is very poor as far as patent registrations are concerned. I have visited places in Europe and America where people take pride in really registering their patents. And there are hundreds of patents which an organization creates, and they take that as a credit for canvassing their businesses, that we hold so many patents. The moment you say that, you get registered in a different profile or different echelon of entrepreneurs, and that helps you in creating business environments. So India still lags behind in R&D as compared to many other developing nations. Similarly, the long-drawn process of registration of patents and lack of incentives and monetary benefits for research and development is another bone of contention, which is another reason why many entrepreneurs prefer to be domiciled abroad. Now, although this is a negative perspective, but then I would strongly recommend that if you have an innovative product, if you have done certain innovation, file for the patent and then be creditworthy with that particular patent going to the marketplace. People will recognize you in a very, very high esteem. There's a last aspect is the unified labor code. The manufacturing and factory establishment in India are governed by a large number of labor legislations. There are many of them. I spoke on labor laws sometime. Most of the requirements, it was hard to speak on labor laws. Most of the requirements in these acts are overlapping, which makes it very difficult for companies to cope up with each legal requirement every month. Also, many provisions in these legislations are dated and are not in sync with new technological advancements and business models. The need of the hour is to compile these laws into a single labor code, dealing with all major verticals like wages, social security, industrial safety, welfare, and industrial relations. I think this should give you an outline of the legal aspects of business. I'll go to the next one. We're coming to the most important topic, the bread earner, marketing and sales management, not because I excel in marketing, but certainly marketing requires a great amount of personality traits and extroversion, expression, languages, human relations, PR, you name the things. There are more than a few traits which are required to become a good marketing manager. And at the end of the day, I feel I've done good as far as marketing and sales management is concerned. But certainly, everyone in itself is trying to sell something, whether it be a concept, whether it be an idea. At home, as parents, we are trying to sell an idea to our children that do this, you will benefit, do that, you will benefit, don't have this, do have this, etc., etc. So we are trying to have a process of convincing, or we are doing indirect marketing or sales sort of a thing with whoever we are talking to, debating a concept logically, relevance of that particular concept, convincing on that. So in the same manner, when come to the entrepreneurship ecosystem, we need to understand what is the sales management and marketing aspects. Naturally, the marketing gets defined by the 4 Ps, and the 4 Ps are product, price, place, and promotion, which any management book can also give. But then in crux, you should understand that what exactly the concept of the product in marketing plan is. Finding the right product of your target market. The product must be something desired by the intended customer. Target market can be certain age group of people. It could be people of certain geographical areas, or people of certain income level, or certain industry. Meaning, if we talk of consumer goods, these could be the criterion. What industrial products, it could be a similar criterion for selection of your target markets. The target market of your product could also be very specific combination of such criteria. So what are those criteria you need to define? If you really are creating a product and then going to market, or you want to create a product which is market driven. Now, these are the 2 concepts which are very, very important. The approach for an entrepreneurship could be, I would do an innovation myself, create a product and approach market. This could be one. Or I would find a niche market. I will find out the opportunities in that niche market and create a product. So what we are saying is that there are 2 ends for marketing. One is the product end, where we have innovated and second is the customer end. So I followed the second path of it, in the sense that I knew there are certain customers who are having following problems. I created a product ecosystem for that, and that is how I survived 29 years. The advantage of that was that I already had the customer who wanted to buy the product if I created one. However, the product strategy is not bad at all. You have an innovative product, and that product can take care of certain problems of the industry, so it gets sold. So both approaches are good. It is you who has to decide which approach you should take, from product to market or from market to product. But these both approaches are viable. I took the second one because I didn't want to get into manufacturing in the beginning. So I wanted to cater to customers and approach the manufacturers for those products. And accordingly, I created that ecosystem in which I survived for 29 years. And today I have created even the product oriented, the second approach, that I've created a product and then I'm looking at the customers also. So product is a very, very important aspect in deciding the marketing part of it. Second thing is price. Certainly price is a very important element of the marketing mix. The company must create something of value for the customer. The product must be one that consumer is willing to pay or predetermined price for. Analysis is necessary to determine the price customers are willing to pay for a specific product. If your price is too low, you will not realize a profit. However, pricing higher than the other market suppliers of the product leads to decreased sales, also resulting in a loss for the company. So you need to choose. There is a decision making which is involved on prices, that you need to stick to your costing principle and decide on the price. Like I say that we go bottoms up. I have a good product. I create a pricing bottoms up. So what is bottom? Raw material, and the top up is the profit part of it. So you load your entire elements of that costing and then ultimately come out with that particular pricing with a marginal scope for negotiations. Now, once we do that, it becomes a document which you cannot compromise on. So whether you get sales or not, you have to take a call, a business decision, whether I want to capture the entire market or whether I want to do a niche market and stick to my price, or get into a commodity market and play with the pricing part of it. So it is a totally business philosophy that one really gets into, and you decide how to really pitch your organization like. For example, I have always sold products which are premium priced, minimum 30% higher, maximum 200% higher. And therefore, I had selected a particular niche for the markets where the buyers were there, and I'm contented with those buyers, and I get good results out of that. Whereas somebody may like to have turnover, so they need to play a price game and then increase the sales and then boast about the turnover. So price is an important element of that. The place part of it. The place part of it is also important. Selling your product in the correct place is another important aspect of the marketing mix. No matter how good your product or service is, if the customer cannot find it, no purchases will be made. To determine the proper place to market your product, you must determine where the target audience is shopping for similar purchases. This might be in a brick and mortar storefront location or through an internet store or an online purchasing mode that we have gone through. So the place is very, very important. For consumer goods, it is very sensitive that you need to be exhibiting everywhere. For industrial goods, you don't need to be really focused so much, but then certainly where the customer density is higher, we go and conduct seminars and things like that, and then make our products visible. We advertise in those areas. We advertise in industrial magazines, or for compressors, we advertise in compressor magazines. For diesel engines, we advertise in diesel engine magazines. So the approaches for industrial and consumer are entirely different. So we need to select our place of promotion and then ultimately work out the promotional strategies. That is where the last one comes as promotion. Once you have determined what product you will sell, the price you will charge, and the place you will sell it, you must tell people about it. So the chronology follows. So that's what I said, that depending on the consumer and the industrial, you follow the roadmap. This is where the promotion comes in. There are multiple mediums available to promote a product or service to your target consumers. As I said, magazines are there, exhibitions are there, internet is there, online things are there. There's so many places. I think today's digital world, everyone knows how to get your product promoted. YouTube channels, Facebook, LinkedIn, so on and so forth. Well, it's an endless game. And another aspect of marketing is market research. Market research really provides you with all the potential that is available for your product, especially for a new product development, what we say NPD. Before really putting up a venture or before even applying for project finance, a report on market research is necessary. I did a market research for Hindustan Machine Tools when they launched 3 automatic machines, a single spindle and a multi-spindle machines. And the report was almost 80 pages, and through which HMT really went into the production of those, because the demand forecasted was very well within the reach of what they had anticipated. So a market research report at the beginning of the game is very, very important. And for that matter, for the existing product also, whether we are doing right markets serving or not, we need to really get into this kind of an exercise on a regular basis to evaluate our existing scale or existing position as far as markets are concerned. And the last one is CRM. The long form is customer relationship management. Today, it is today's tool to really evaluate what is the kind of customer relations that we have had, and depending based on that, we can create the markets for our spare parts and service requirement and general complaints, warranty, and other issues of a particular business. I think I have 3 more operations. I think I need to cover 3 more topics. I have 15 minutes left. I'll just run through it, Rajendra Garu, if you permit me, because it will take time.
So please go ahead. So it's very interesting, and I think you should conclude.
Yeah, okay, fine. But it will exceed your timing, and I'm very sorry. The operations and quality management. Operations management is the direction and control of the core business process of an organization. Operations include everything an organization does to create value. This includes the production of products and delivery of services to customers. The following are the basic elements of an operation management practice, which I have highlighted there. That is strategy and planning, management accounting, quality, information technology, business process, performance management, plant maintenance, and R&D. I'll just briefly go through it very quickly, each one of them. Strategy and planning. Operations generates a firm's revenue and often consumes most of a firm's cost. As such, operation strategy is a primary element of corporate strategy alongside marketing and sales. Operation strategy includes the capital investments required to support business growth and to sustain revenue. It is also common to plan improvements to key operating metrics in areas such as efficiency, productivity, and quality. So strategy and planning is the beginning of operations management. Unless you have a strategy, unless you plan for that strategy, you will be going nowhere. The second aspect is the management accounting. Management accounting is the practice of measuring operations, improving things and measuring again. So you are doing a particular thing, you measure it. After you measure it, you improve it. After improvement, you measure it again. So it is a continuous cycle of management accounting. This is mostly unrelated to financial accounting. Please understand this. Mature firms have heavily organized operation processes that are well understood and extensively measured. This drives efficiencies such as low unit costs and represent competitive advantage. Now, why management accounting? Because today we are operating in a competitive world. Nobody can say that he has a monopolized a market or monopolized product. Everyone is operating in a competitive mode. So what we say in Hindi is, what is hatke moment for your entrepreneurship? कि मैं ऐसा क्या करता हूं जो हटके है. So that hatke is this management accounting. Is that I review my processes, I review my products, I review my strategies, I review my plannings, and I try to improve on my cost. I try to deliver it to the customer. And that process is on a real-time basis. It does not stop, or it is not a one-time activity. It keeps on going. The next element that we have is the quality part of it. Operation produces firms, products, and services. As such, operations management is often concerned with quality control and quality assurance. Quality control ensures that the products and services conform to the specifications. Quality assurance investigates and addresses the root cause of quality problem. Now, these are very, very important two definitions. One is quality control. Everyone talks about quality control, quality control. Nobody talks of quality assurance. And there is a third jargon which is used very extensively in the industry, is that quality is built into the product, not inspected into. Please understand, these are very heavy statements, that while we are doing a particular job, it incorporates processes and methods by which quality is ensured. That is what I mean by the last statement, that our process has an inbuilt quality control so that the product which comes out has that kind of assurance as far as quality is concerned. So a quality control is an internal process, quality assurance is an external process which examines whether the assurance or whether the quality has been controlled properly or not. And for doing a product on a you can say marginal quantities, it is all fine. But when you are doing a mass production, these things play a very, very important role. The last topic which we are discussing is digitalization, automation, and things like that. So in an automation process, there is no intervention by manpower. So the process has to be totally built into as far as quality is concerned. And then the assurance also goes totally automated. So this is a very, very important aspect because this increases your cost. If the product goes outside and fails on quality, the cost of quality is warranty. And the warranties really kill you, not only on money or liquidity, but it also spoils your credibility and it also damages your brand. Please understand. Failures of certain cars on the street have virtually tanked the sales of those cars. And this is very, very important. So quality is important. If you go to a restaurant, you find a fly in your curry, you know, that restaurant is doomed. So the quality control and assurance also goes into similar things. So at a restaurant level, somebody is ensuring that quality, that even if he finds a fly, he removes it in the kitchen itself. He doesn't bring it to the customer's plate. So quality is important. But then the second aspect of that quality has to be built into the process so that he has to design a process that the fly doesn't get into his curry. So that is another aspect of it. So the next item is the information technology part of it. Operations is often extensively automated and measured with information technology. In many industries, information technology is considered an operational function. This may involve delivering systems and applications for non-operations teams such as marketing. Because this is very, very important. IT really helps in giving out data and giving out information. We will be talking in the last thing. I will just touch base here. So this may involve delivering systems and applications for non-operation teams such as marketing, sales, human resources, and accounting. These are non-operational teams, and they require a lot of information. A lot of data is required by them, and which is being processed by the IT department. What is the next item is the business process. Operations is primarily concerned with the day-to-day value creation of a business. This is organized into a repeatable process and practices that are continually monitored, measured, and improved. So what we were discussing at that time is that every day management accounting, that the business process has to be really looked at it on a daily basis. The next aspect is the performance management. Performance management is the process of managing the performance of employees. This generally involves setting objectives for performance with each employee and then evaluating performance against objectives on a regular basis. What we today have for each employee is the goal setting and the target-oriented performance appraisal. So at the beginning of the year, you give targets, you give performance parameters that he will be judged at. And ultimately, you evaluate him on the basis of that performance and based on the reviews that you conduct, how he's performing, etc., etc. The next part is the management part of it. Operations management overlaps with large number of management disciplines and in areas such as project management, risk management, and asset management. Because these are also very, very important as far as operations are concerned. And when we are talking of these management aspects, we have asset management, capacity management, we have project management, we have risk management, we have vendor management, and many more things. As a part of operations, we also have plant maintenance. This is a highly neglected function or element of operations, I may say. A last priority is given to the operational man. We will say that you come in the night and then do that because in the morning I have to run a production schedule. A poor guy has to listen to this thing because he is low down the thing. You know, he cannot go away from the responsibility as well as he has to see to it that the machine is running. Because ultimately the operator will say that the maintenance guy, I had told him, he did not repair it. So plant maintenance becomes very, very important. And today that function is also given a high priority because the maintenance schedules are defined. So on holidays, on times where the shifts are not functioning, on times when the productions are not very heavy, people keep planning for those machines. In fact, there are high amount of CNC machines or automated machines which are being bought by most of the entrepreneurs to increase productivity. And these manufacturers do not give you any leeway as far as maintenance is concerned. And they insist that it has got to be maintained in certain duration, and otherwise we are not responsible for failures. That is where we do the planning for plant maintenance. And it is very, very important. The way we plan our maintenance as an individual basis, we will have to plan for the machinery or the assets of the organization also. The last element, of course, is research and development. Again, funds, what we said about in patents is that lack of funds gives lack of research and development, and lack of research and development gives not many patents to the organization. Not many patents to organization does not give or rather increase the creditworthiness as far as technicality or the technical capability of the organization is concerned. Therefore, the organization slide down. So R&D is also a very important function because they not only look at your existing products, they define with the manufacturing engineering how to produce that particular product. They, on a time scale basis, they also improve that product, existing product within the costing norms. So most of the times marketing guys go to the R&D says that you've designed a product which I can't sell. A very, very common statement. You have over-designed it. So why don't you optimize your design? Well, there are softwares which are available which can optimize your designs today and which can re-engineer your product to suit your cost. So R&D gets involved into that. R&D gets involved into the new product development. R&D gets involved into the new technologies. Like today, we are talking of electrical mobility. We are talking of gas engines. We are talking of hydrogen cells. We are talking of many, many new things coming into every product domain or every industry sector. And this is where R&D plays a very, very important role. So one need not neglect it. So that covers the part of operations management. The next one is imports and exports. My time is up and I have two more topics. One is import and export and second one is digital transformation. So how do I go about it?
Yeah, I think you can.
So talk
you can
about
get-
digital transformation.
Yeah, I think
I'm sorry, sir. In a quick nutshell, if you can just brief us about
digital information transformation. I will talk. It is again a very big topic, and digital transformation strategy. There are many components. Maybe the 7 key components which has into that. I'll just yeah. These are the 7 key components, and I'll just quickly run through it in the next 5 minutes. Strategy and leadership. An effective game plan seems to be the obvious but often overlooked component of a digital transformation strategy. However, how and who formulates the strategy is what makes it important. A basic strategy, along with fitting technologies, can help you digitalize your business. But transformation requires the correct mindset and guidance. Hence, strategy combined with the right leadership is the first and foremost crucial component of an effective digital transformation strategy. So digitalization is not about computers, digitalization is not about automation. It is first and foremost about your strategy and the leadership part of it. And then we go to the next one is the cultural change and communication. Be ready for a massive cultural shift when you are talking about digitalization. Usually clients and employees of a company are reluctant towards major changes. Management of change is a big topic. We are always reluctant to change because we feel comfortable, we bask in our glories of the past, which makes it difficult to execute and transformation. Culture is the key cornerstone of any successful digital transformation program. Hence, it will be helpful if you prepare your employees for it in advance. So HR's function is to prepare first the employees that we are going to have this, and these are going to be the advantages. So you better follow. So he will have to do that. Effective communication can help you achieve this. So that communication is the responsibility of HR management, and they are the best people to coordinate with the respective functional heads and then work it out as to this is going to be the change, these are going to be the advantages, and these are going to be the pain points. Pain points meaning you will have to work extra something to see to it that it gets streamlined. The next one is the process optimization. How many times have you found yourself in the middle of a task hoping that you could find a simpler way to do it? And this is where that optimization process really figures in. Every business involves numerous processes and operations which can be transformed to make workflows smoother and easier. Hence, you must keep business process optimization in your mind while formulating the digital transformation strategy. So process optimization is something which is very, very important. The next one is the data part of it. Data curation, I say, one of the main reasons behind adopting digital transformation is to eliminate your business pain points for your team as well as your customers. But how will you know what these pain points are? And that is where the data comes in. Data analysis and integration can help you to identify them. Many times people select their preferred technologies before analyzing their data while creating transformation strategies. This is not how it should work. If you don't analyze data, you may know what loopholes to cover at your internal team's end, but you may still miss out on the loopholes that your customers have to deal with on a regular basis. So a data analysis or data analytics really plays a very, very important part as far as the data curation is concerned. The next part of it is technologies to be implemented, because once you define all these things, you need to define the technologies for implementation. Identifying fitting technologies for your business is one of the most crucial steps while drafting the digital transformation strategy. Implementing technologies into your company will require a lot of financial investment. Hence, to avoid the need of extra funds, it must be done correctly. Any effective digital transformation strategy will always include some options along with their budget requirements in order to make their best decision. Whether you are dealing with upgrading legacy systems, when we say legacy system, you have been using your old mainframes or things like that for larger organizations, and now you want to come into cloud. So the codes have to be transformed from mainframe to the cloud part of it. That is where the legacy system comes in. And I'm into one of such applications. Application modernization or implementation of entirely new digital systems. You must find the most fitting technology. So this is the aspect of technologies that you have to be looking at. And then the team structure that we have to have. Digital transformation is not about tools, is about people, which is most of the leading experts, they keep saying it. Hence, structure of the team is determining factor delivering outcomes according to your digital transformation strategy. You need to have an organizational structure or the team in place who is comfortable on those technologies and who are the domain experts in that technology to really work it out. Now we come to the results part of it. calibrating success for your digital transformation strategy. The results of your company's digital transformation will be strongly influenced by the way you outline your digital transformation strategy. Results will always differ according to the practices you choose and the technologies you implement. You must take initial results into account and plan long-term strategies to the scale of digital transformation, as well as meet new ends as your business grows. Because every time you are growing on a growth path, your digital transformation process is going to be different. Today, you may require this technology. Tomorrow, you may require another one. Your team must be flexible enough to look at the results and undertake changes if required. The KPIs help you identify if all requirements are being met. Agility is the key to success of your digital transformation strategy. You must follow the detailed strategy you have formulated, but you must also be open to changes if it doesn't work out the way you expected it to work. Again, flexibility comes into being. I cannot say that I want to do this, but if it doesn't work, then you have to slightly digress and then take another path so that it really helps you out. So this is what is about digital transformation. What is the way forward as far as digital transformation strategy is concerned? Digital transformation strategy is about taking care of the prerequisites. By formulating an effective, clear, and robust digital transformation strategy, you will be able to ensure that your company undergoes digital transformation as seamlessly as possible. Digital transformation strategy is like a personalized map to bring about huge modifications in your business operations. It requires a lot of financial investment, time, and technical expertise. It always helps to ensure that your teams are being led by highly qualified and experienced technical leaders to reduce risks. Well, with that, I come to my conclusion part of it, where I have said something that for an entrepreneur, what are the do's and don'ts? So I'll quickly go through that. What are the do's? Have passion, conviction, backed up by data. I simply want to do this. This is my passion. Cannot be a business proposition. It has to be backed up by data. Have a business plan. Create a revenue model. Be focused. Understand performance is the key. There is no substitute to performance. Today, I have lived for 29 years in business only because I have given consistently performance after performance and a growth in performance parameters. Therefore, customers look at me. What are the don'ts? Borrow without reasoning. Don't borrow without reasoning. Unless you have real reason, you should not borrow. Run after short-term goals. Don't take any shortcuts. Expect quick results. You know, this is a world of instant coffee. Everyone wants quick results. There is no quick results. For everything, you have to wait. You have to have patience. And what is expect too much too fast? This is by experience. You know, you have to play a game of a hare and tortoise. So you need to be having a patience. So don't expect too much too fast. It will come. If provided you work, you go through all what we have been discussing last 1.5 hours, and don't take things for granted. This is one of the most important things, that, well, chalta hai attitude. You know, this will not happen. That will not, I'm okay. I will perform. Well, that is not going to be. So don't take things for granted. With that, gentlemen, ladies, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. It has been a very long and
So this was one of the sessions we still want to continue and not leave you so soon. But unfortunately, time is not permitting us. Sir, as a president, as an entrepreneur, lady entrepreneur, I have a quick 3 questions to you, sir. One thing is, you have to be resilient is one, what I've learned through your experiences. As I've seen the presentation, it was, I could put myself into your presentation and see that was the journey of mine also. And secondly, sir, coming to about this GST taxes and all that you were telling. So this is a big crisis for an entrepreneur is one. So because she has to pay advance taxes on behalf of it, and there is no surety that whether you'll get it or not. How is your company coping up with those kind of issues is one which I wanted to ask you. Secondly, you said there is MSME redressal mechanism, but how effective is this redressal mechanism on payments? So how is that your company is going through, sir? Because I was not sure whether it really works or not.
Yeah.
If you can just throw some light on these 2 points
Yeah.
of mine.
Yeah.
Sorry to
No.
take your time.
I enjoy question answers. Yeah, I could do another hour on your questions, but then
So
I
you're
will
not
be
audible.
short. No, I'm. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So talking about resilience, yes.
We are not able to hear you, sir.
Well, I have. Should I go out of the sharing part of it?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you hear me, ma'am? Can you hear me, Rajendra?
Yeah. Fine. Madam?
We can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, fine. Thanks. Well, talking about resilience, resilience is something which is very, very important. And my association with Hyderabad is my participation in the Resilience Summit, which was arranged by IETO, the Indian Economic Trade Organization, which was arranged in Hyderabad. And I spoke on resilience as a topic as far as business is concerned. So it is that important. So you touch the nerve of an entrepreneur by saying that resilience is something which is very, very important quality of an entrepreneur, because everyone is going to try your patience, everyone is going to try your resilience. How much you can stretch will decide how much endurance you can carry or how much strength you can carry. So resilience is the most important thing. The second aspect that you talked about was the GST part of it. As I said in my presentation also, that non-recovery and you filling up your GST formalities is a run of the day. But then in which case people have been issuing pro formas rather than issuing invoices, because the moment you issue invoices, you have to log in for the GST payments. But if you put in a pro forma, then you do not get accounted for that kind of a billing. I do not recommend this method, but then certainly this is what people are trying to find via medias. And secondly, the redressal part of it on the payment, it is a catch-22 situation. For example, you have an OEM customer who has not paid you in 45 days. For example, I'm dealing with an X organization, which is very, very large. They are giving me very good business. Now, I cannot go on a redressal forum and file a complaint against them, because next day he won't make me stand in that organization. So it is a catch. Well, I have somebody.
Yeah. Hello? Hello?
Hello. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. So redressal system is a catch-22, where you think that you have given up on the customer, where you can afford to lose that business. There you use that redressal system as a business decision. But otherwise, relationship is the only key. You will have to accommodate the credits which get extended. But then beyond a particular thing, I have seen that the large organization do not delay payments, because it reflects on their credit rating also. Because as I said, digitally, everyone is locked onto the system, and the government is monitoring whether you file a complaint or not. If a big organization files its audit reports, in the compliances, there is a provision that for MSMEs, what has been your payment terms and how you have complied with. What is the age of payments as far as MSMEs are concerned? So I'm on board of a large company where we really review this compliances, in which I categorically ask this question, that how many MSMEs are registered with us and what is the aging as far as payment of MSMEs is concerned. And at the board level or at the auditors level, I think they are monitored. So there is a self-inflicted, you can say, moral obligation in most of the organizations. So they take care of that. But then redressal is the last resort, Kavita ma'am. Meaning I would not advise most of the people, because then you lose business thereafter. Customer doesn't like you doing that, because you need to understand what are their compulsions. But if somebody is doing it deliberately, he is playing with you, and not once, twice, many times, then yes, that is open and that really works. Meaning today, I can claim that whatever is announced in legislation does work. Have I answered your questions?
Yeah. Karthik? I think, yeah. I think, yeah, I think it's she's off the line. I think she may. It will. Hello. Hello. Yeah. So I think there's some questions for there in chat box. So the time is delayed. We'll. I think I'll request our Renka Sagarji. Sir, before going for a closing remark from our MC member Renka Madam. So I just want to congratulate you, sir. I think this session is like a Bible. Like, yeah, this is going live on our Facebook and our YouTube channel and our LinkedIn also. And this basically will later on, we recommend all the people to go through one side and one side. And it has to go twice and twice because it covered almost all the point. Like in the MBA is 90 minutes, something like that, I can say, the entrepreneurship. It's absolutely fantastic, sir. And it's absolutely great, I don't want to disturb actually because the way you're going, the way you prepared, you projected all the points, I think in the next program, in the management really development and the entrepreneurship readiness program, we'll take elaborately on all these points in a detailed way and also will take your guidance. Now I request our MC member Renka Madam to give a closing remarks and a lot of thanks to our guest speaker Shalendraji.
Thank you, Rajendra Krishna Prasad sir. Firstly, I would like to congratulate Rajendra Krishna Prasad sir for organizing such a wonderful session. And let me start the formal vote of thanks. Good evening to one and all. I, Dr. Renuka Sagar, on behalf of Hyderabad Management Association, takes the opportunity to propose a vote of thanks for today's virtual discussion on MSME, curtain raiser on Entrepreneurship Readiness Program. I thank Mr. Shailendra Goswami, who's a chairman and managing director, Pushkaraj Group of Companies. I'm sorry, Pushkaraj Group of Companies. He has covered almost everything, whatever we were expecting in the session. Right from the that is entrepreneurship psychology and mindset, and topic on what are the government authorities' role in MSME, then what are the HR practices and administration, right from the financial management point of view, legal aspect, then supply chain and logistics, and even the operation and quality management. And the greatest thing was digitalization and ERP. That was one of the excellent sessions that we had it in this month, sir. It was really, really awesome. And we would like to have more of such sessions in the near future. I once again, on behalf of the President, Kavita Rajesh Madam, then Professor Dr. Ravikumar Jain sir, Secretary, Vice President Ramchandra sir, and the convener MSME Rajendra Krishna Prasad, and all the MC members, heartfully thank you for being a part of the program today and enlightening us on various aspects on MSME. Thank you, sir. That was a wonderful session, and we loved your session so much that we were not able to control and stop ourselves. We didn't even know when that 6:30 became 8 above, and we were just listening to you. That was really fantastic, sir. Thank you so much on behalf of HMA. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity, and I'm delighted that at this age of 70, I withstood almost 2 hours of presentation without any.
Sir, don't say 70, sir. Don't say 70, sir.
Thank you, HMA, for everything. Thank you, everyone. I hope I was able to meet your expectation. Thanks to Rajendra Krishna, who really pushed me hard to make this presentation so effective.
Sir, it's a great presentation, sir. I think it will be live on Facebook and we'll see again. It's nice, sir. Good night. Karthik?
Sir.
Sorry.
Sir.
I think you can count it. And,
Okay. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Closing the meeting.